Hey guys, today I've played some crazy prep by Magnus Carlsen. I was playing round 5 at Lanta Open, a tournament in Thailand, where I'm currently one of the leaders, and I was playing on board 1 against the sole leader, David Vincenti. He is a champion of Malta, a very strong player. His peak rating was 2300, something around that, but now he's around 2000 ELO rating because, as he told me, he played too many games against underrated juniors in Asia. I can relate to that. There are really very many people who are underrated there, especially if they are young and haven't been playing many tournaments. So I was playing the white pieces, and I had 3 out of 4. After 4 rounds, he had 4 out of 4. So I had to play for a win to catch him in the lead in the tournament. So I prepared something by Magnus Carlsen, the line that he played many times in Blitz, including against Alireza Firouzja. So let me show you this prep and if it worked or not. So I went e4, e5. He told me he was trying to prepare for me, but didn't find enough games by me. That's because I retired from chess when I was a kid, and now I'm back after many years. So it's an advantage that I have. It's difficult to prepare for me. So I went for the 4 knights. Opening, it's very dry, but there is life in it if you find a creative solution like Magnus did. He went a3 against Alireza several times, and there were many interesting games played by them. You can check them out online. I've checked everything with the engine. I was very well prepared. So there are several lines that can happen here. I will show them to you so that you can play also this opening. Many of your opponents, especially if they are rated below 2000, they will not know this line. And even my opponent did not know it, as he admitted. So my opponent went d5, which is the strongest move according to the engine. He thought for some time and came up with this move. Well, strong players are likely going to go d5, but lower rated players, many of them will go bishop c5, which is already not the best move. It gives you some advantage with white because you take this pawn. And if black takes, you go d4, and it's a fork, and you win either the bishop or the knight. Well, most people are probably going to either take the pawn or go bishop d6. So if they bishop d6. So if they take the pawn, you just take back, and you have a very easy plan of development. You go, for example, here. If they attack you, you just go back, and then they castle, you castle, and you have a fantastic position. You just go f3, g4, h4, h5, g5, and attack them. And if they try to counterattack, for example, a6, trying to go b5, you have a very enticing endgame to go to e5. So the idea is they have to take, you take, they take, you take, they take, and you take here, and you are attacking both this pawn and this knight, threatening to damage the structure, and you have a great endgame. Plus 0.63, the computer says. It's unpleasant to play it with black. Probably you're playing for 2 results, a draw or a win. So you can, after like 96 defending this pawn, you can either take this and damage the pawn structure or play with the 2 bishops advantage. Both options are quite good, like bishop c4. So this is one option that you have. Let me jump back to this variation. So knight takes, d4. So if they take, it's all easy. You have the two bishops, but if they go here, you can obviously take here and have a nice position, but even stronger is f4, a great move. So if the knight goes back, like knight g6, you go e5, forking those pieces. And if they, for example, go bishop e7, you have a strong move f5. This is crazy. Check it with the computer. You will win many games like this. There are many great variations. And traps that black could fall into. So you will definitely take one of the knights. And if, for example, black goes here, one sample line is this, and here you have queen e2 check. And if they block with the queen, you have knight d5, and the position is collapsing for black. So, for example, they take, and you threaten this. And if they go here, for example, you just castle, protecting this pawn, and protecting this pawn, and this knight is on the rim, and probably you will be able to somehow win it. You threaten g3, for example. It's very unpleasant to play with black. So this is one of the lines that can happen if black goes bishop c5 in this position. This was not the choice of my opponent, but I'm showing this to you so that you know how to play this. Also, you shouldn't be afraid of bishop takes f2 in this variation, because yes, you lose your castling rights, but already the position is great for you, +1, 15, because you go d4, and if they check you, you just go back, and next, like d6, for example, you go h3, and this knight has to retreat here, and the position is horrible for black. You can, for example, develop like this, and attack, and your center is dominant. You have the two bishops, amazing position. So you shouldn't be afraid of this variation as well. So that's what happens if your opponent goes bishop c5. But my opponent, after some thought, went d5, which is the best move recommended by Stockfish. And here I went bishop b5. That's how many games between Magnus and his opponents went, including Alireza. Here there are some options. Black can go, for example, d4, and then you drop back, and then they have to protect this pawn because it's hanging because of the pin, so they go bishop d6, and you go d3, and there is this like complicated position, double-edged. They castle, you castle, then you rotate your knight here, maybe you rotate your other knight here and put it here, try to play for f4 and attack on this file. Interesting position, you should check it out if you want to play this variation. So d4 is one of the moves. Another move, my opponent, by the way, went knight takes e4, which is the best move. Again, he found those best moves. A very strong player, again, as I said. I was counting on some traps if he took like this, because this is really juicy. Check out this variation, knight takes e5. Black cannot take because of the pin, so they have to defend. The knight, this is the most logical move. And here you go d4, a strong move that gives you an advantage. And you might say, what if black just takes en passant? The knight is hanging, and black is up a pawn, so do you have to take back? No, you have castles in this position. This is crazy, and already white's advantage is great. If black takes, black gets pinned, and this is horrible for black. Black loses the queen. Otherwise, you, for example, like if black goes bishop e6, I don't know, bishop f4, you are threatening some discoveries, some nasty discoveries by knight, like knight g6 or knight c6. If black, for example, castles, you can win the exchange. Knight takes, queen has to take, and you take the rook. And the position is great, already winning almost for white. So this is what could have happened had my opponent gone for taking with the pawn. You should be prepared for this. Study this line and use it in your online blitz. You will win many games. But my opponent, being a strong player, went for knight e4. And this is around equal, Stockfish says. I was preparing this line also before the game. It was on my computer. Queen e2 is the best move here. And here there are two moves, either queen d6 or knight takes. My opponent went queen d6, but if he went knight takes e3, I was preparing queen takes e5 check, and the knight cannot take the queen because of the pin again, so you have to block. And here you just take with your pawn, and you have a great position because of this pin, for example, here, and you are putting pressure. It's unpleasant for black. And if black takes defense with the knight, with the bishop, you can take this knight with the queen, also putting pressure here. It's around equal, but an interesting position that can go both ways. So that's one of the variations that are possible here, but my opponent chose a more solid queen d6, which is the best move according to Stockfish. So protecting this, and here I went for knight takes, de, queen e4. That's what I was looking at before the game with my computer. I knew it's equal, and I thought, well, if he finds the best moves, yes, it will be equal. So what? Chess is a drawn game. So he went bishop d7, again, the best move according to Stockfish. I went d4, again, Stockfish recommendation. I was looking at this before the game. He castled, again, best move according to Stockfish. I took, best move, he took, best move, check, and takes. Stockfish recommended rook takes, but actually it's both moves are like lead to equality. So he takes, and the idea is that if I, for example, take, I get mated. So that would be tragic, obviously. Also, I cannot take with the knight because of the same checkmate threat. So I have to castle here. I have to castle. I castled here. Another interesting line, by the way, is let me show it to you. I think here, yes. If I take like this, there is a brilliant checkmate by black. Queen d1. If you have experience with solving puzzles, tactical puzzles, you probably have seen such a motif. So I have to take the only move and then double check. Bishop g4 check from the rook and from the bishop. The only move is king 1 and rook d1 checkmate. That would have been tragic also, but obviously I didn't fall for that. So that's why in this position I did not take the knight, but rather I took the bishop, and here I castled. So I'm sweating because it's very hot in Thailand. So here the position is very drawish. And my opponent took the knight and offered me a draw. But I declined because I knew it's a draw, but I have to win to catch him. So I try to create some attack maybe on his king because we are castled opposite sides. I take with my queen. He goes queen d5, trying to exchange the queens, and I don't want to exchange because that would be obviously very drawish. So I check him. He goes king b8. Here, my preparation around this move, it ended, and I knew it's an equal position, but still I was trying to play for some attack on his king. Maybe advance like this, go here, rook here, maybe advance my pawns, something like that. Obviously, he can counterattack me, and that would be very double-edged. So I go bishop f4. Maybe I want to create a battery to pressure this pawn. Also, maybe I want to sacrifice a pawn here. So if he takes my rook, joins the attack, that could be dangerous. But he played a very precise move, bishop d6, just equalizing, making the position as dry as possible, exchanging pieces. If you are attacked, you should exchange pieces. This is a rule of thumb. So here I went rook a d1, and after some thought, I didn't find any good solution how to proceed with attack. So I offered him a draw and he agreed. Because this is the driest position ever. The line that I was calculating is this, takes, and I thought about going queen f3. Actually, the computer agrees it's the best move, but still, he can go queen e6, for example, or queen e7, doesn't matter. Okay, queen e6, rook d1, a6 is the line given by the computer. And after this, he will activate the rook, and I don't have any attack, I don't have anything. It's zeros, according to the computer. So that's what I was calculating for some time, and this is why after rook d1, I offered him a draw because I didn't see a way forward. He agreed, and I didn't manage to catch him, but still there are 2 rounds left. Please write it in the comments if you like this line by Magnus, and if you want to use it in your games. I hope this was helpful. See you tomorrow for the next recap. Bye-bye.